Okay,
Okay, you're all set. Have a good meeting. Good night.
thank you.
Good night, Pablo.
Good night.
Thanks, Pablo.
Good
Okay,
night. Good night.
good evening, everyone. This is the May meeting of the April meeting of the Bronx Community Board Aid Environment and Sanitation Committee. And I'm Robert Finuzzi, the chair. I would like to recognize a quorum with the presence of Deb Travis, two community board members, and proceed with the first order of business, which is approving the minutes of our last meeting of, I guess that we didn't meet in March, so February. Committee members, do you have a motion to approve? Rob?
Sure.
Okay, all those in favor? Approving the minutes of February. Aye?
Yes.
Okay, hearing nothing. I am now going to go through a litany of important news to offer this community. So I'm going to start with some regular agency business. So first, we have an offer from DEP to be the site of a rain barrel giveaway. Okay. Laura, you have done this in the past and not done it in the past. Could you tell us a little bit about the logistics of this and the value of it?
Oh, it was a very successful event. I did it for about 2-3 years. Then we did it at the site in Van Cortlandt Park. Christina really was my partner on this. The site became difficult one year because it was being used for something else. And also we were giving out 100 rain barrels, 100 rain barrels, people registered for it. And many people had their rain barrels already. So we skipped and we just.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we would need a site. I mean, the value of it was collecting water, using it to wash cars and your plants, taking it out of the sewer system. So that's why DEP believes so strongly in this and has the.
and does DEP run it? Does it require community board?
Well, I'll tell you what it requires is a locked place because they deliver the rain barrels the day before. Physically, they require help to unload the truck. It needs to be locked. Effie was there the years, maybe not the entire time, but yeah, but we basically ran it, CB8 and Christina.
Okay, it's a lot of manpower then. Okay.
Well, it was work for the office as well. People called up, they reserved their rain barrel. We kept the list. It was some work, but it was a very successful event. But I don't know, what space is available. We had it at Van Cortlandt Park. It worked out lovely for us. You'd have to talk to Christina, Stephanie,
Okay.
if you want
We
to
also,
proceed with it.
we also did it at PS 81, if you remember, Laura.
Oh, yeah, 1 year, that's right. That is right. 1 year, I totally forgot.
Committee members, what do you want to do? Because this would need our committee to be on the ground. Is this something we want to pursue? It looks like we're going to have to be involved in the manpower part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of extra time. The Kingsbridge Heights Community Center might have space that could be locked and they have a garden.
It's a great place for it. Yeah.
But just
I'll make it
you need more private homes than apartments.
Yeah, but that's all.
Yeah, right.
Kingsbridge Heights is all homes down there.
Yes, there's plenty of private homes. Yeah, we focused on
Well,
that. I think
Laura, remember, you need a place for cars, okay? God forbid we should mention cars. That is what picks up these barrels. It's cars. They put them in the back seat. They put them in the trunks. This is not something you take on the bus. So Kingsbridge Heights Community Center would not work. You need a place where cars can pull up.
We're a very small committee with limited manpower. I'm inclined we really can't commit. We don't have the numbers this year.
I think you need more time to plan it also, tell you the truth. It's upon you. And we started planning it in the winter, you know, the
Unless
logistics of it.
there was something like the Y that just took it over all, all from the beginning to end. I really don't think it's feasible for our committee.
Yeah.
I wanted to announce a new sanitation regulation. The Department of Sanitation now requires owners and buildings of large residential buildings to submit a waste management plan. And this applies to residential buildings with over 150 units. New residential buildings, new construction, substantial alterations or conversions. Okay, so this could be it will be a DOB issue. The requirement applies to any building that has not yet submitted plans with design drawings to DOB. So they submit the design for waste management to DOB, and it has to have recycling. It has to have strategies to reduce waste. It has to have education for tenants, and of course, compliance. Next, I wanted to announce something very exciting, and that is that DEP has engaged a research division of City University and faculty of CCNY optical engineers to distribute sensors for flood detection. Rob, you had sent me this article, remember last year after Ida, and the DEP has actually found a company and is using CUNY to site. Right now, they're looking for towers, places that are high that will be kind of transmission towers for these local sensors to send their information. And I happened to meet the gentleman who's in charge of it on a hike, believe it or not. We were with a large group, not connected to the community board. And he said this, so he can't come tonight, he's got a conflict, but I invited him to the public gallery of the community board to bring this up. And apparently DEP is working with Marble Hill and also Manhattan College to site these towers. And I think then that's step one. Step two is to site the sensors. Okay, so that would be areas of flooding both on Upper Broadway and then on Lower Broadway, Exterior Street, that whole basin down there, as well as Bailey. So it's
also
really
Riverdale Avenue. Riverdale Avenue has some flooding spaces as well.
well, we have to get into that advocacy, and
Yeah.
for future meetings, we can definitely bring back the CC and the CUNY group. But it's a great opportunity to bring high tech and flood detection to our area. I just wanted to follow up on something that came up before. I guess it was land use a couple of weeks ago. I was asked to look into a complaint from on sewer backup on 231st and Scenic Place. Okay, and
Bob Karen's waiting to get in.
oh, thank you.
Yep.
I was just wondering where she was.
I know, so was I. Yes.
Okay, there was a sewer complaint at 231st, and Kira, and I think Laura, you followed up as well about the sewer backup at 231st and Scenic Place, and that is a private sewer.
Yes.
And we looked into about its probable cause, not caused by construction. It's probably caused by lack of maintenance and clogging of the private sewer catchment that lets water flow to the main, from the property to the main. So Laura, we have to, was that communicated back? Because I sent my response back to the board.
I'll circle back with you on that. I assume that it was.
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah, that goes back to Betty
I'm not
Klein.
prepared to.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not prepared to brief you on it tonight, but there are there's two private sewers. One is one that Sheridan Paulson always discusses and represents those people. And
Yeah,
then another one. This is another one, I believe.
right.
If I can give some insight onto that,
Yeah, thanks, David.
it's literally around the corner from me. I think this is the location that about 10 or 15 years ago, they realized that those few houses never connected to the sewer system and dumped directly into the Hudson. And they were forced to connect to the sewer main on Palisade Avenue, which suggests to me that it's a new system like you mentioned, and there may be an issue with their pumping uphill about 50 feet. So it's not just catchment, but it's an actual pumping, which is relatively rare. It's not gravity based.
Yeah, okay. So this is, what's the name of the company again? I remember the owner of it, or the president of it.
I don't
Laura,
have it in
we'll-
front of me. I
yeah,
wasn't
we'll let,
prepared to discuss this tonight. I did see the
Yeah.
emails back and forth between Kira and Effie and back and forth. I just,
But yeah,
don't
for the
have it in front
purpose
of
of our committee, DP investigated and found that it was a private sewer, and we'll circle back and share with you what the outcome of the referral. It's going to be a private party issue.
yes,
Um,
yes.
So lastly, I have three important announcements. One is that DEP is holding a meeting of its Tibbetts Advisory Group. And these are not limited to community board members, on the 19th of April at 5:30. It's incredibly important. They're going to be, and Tibbetts Advisory Group is a joint effort of parks, and it includes parks, but it is coming out of DEP water. Okay. And so they are going to be offering a conceptual plan review at 5:30 on the 19th of April. Okay, that's
That's
opportunity
their
number.
second one. The first one was actually very informative, very important. This is their second one.
Correct.
Yes, we had one 2 weeks ago.
So this is a really important opportunity. Okay. Next, please put these in your calendars, because keeping the community board involved with the greenway and daylighting process is job one. Number two, the Tibbetts Advisory Group announced on the 21st, there is a site tour at 9 a.m. And that will be, I don't know how they're going to sign up. I'm going to ask them about the sign up procedures, but this came out to us today, just today, from the Tibbetts Advisory Group. Okay. Now, number three is that we'll hold two committees, have a follow-up joint committee meeting. And this will be held on May 24th. So there is April 19th, there is April 21st, and now there's May 24th. This is joint parks and ENS.
May 25th.
Thanks, Laura. May 25th. I keep getting the date right. May 25th. Okay. And this could very well be a voting item for us, because I just received an email that said that they are going to PDC with a preliminary, or for a preliminary, in June. Okay. Now, we're definitely going to bring this up at exec tomorrow to talk about timing. But I just have to say that thank God that Ramdot and I decided to hold a May meeting, because we would have been complete if they were intent on going to PDC in June and we decided to hold a June meeting, we would have been completely shut out of deliberations. Now, mind you, the meetings on the 19th of April are not community board meetings, and therefore there's no voting, just informational, the 21st. But on the 25th, that could well be a voting meeting. And we will probably be being asked for some kind of action from the community board. So it's always important when you're having these kinds of high-level capital project meetings to ask in advance, what are you seeking? So I'm going to correspond on that and confirm, but I was kind of surprised that they are going in June. So we'll bring this up. I have to digest it a little more. We'll bring it up tomorrow at exec. Really important news. And it kind of is a happy coincidence that we were planning a joint meeting in May, but now it's a necessity. And we will decide what's best for the community board in terms of strategy and response to this. Okay. So I wanted to pause there for a minute and ask if you have any questions about all this news I just laid out.
Bob, I just want to throw out that we won't be having our June meeting for the community board at its regular slot because the Philharmonic is returning to Van Cortlandt Park. And so I was looking at the very end of June so that all resolutions would be done and over.
And now this is a calendar issue, and we may have to go back to the old quandary. Do we submit a letter? This always happens, especially in June, with the community board. Always, the city seems to leave important business for June hearings and stuff. So, yeah, we'll definitely talk about the calendar,
Yeah.
what's best for the community board.
And what we're voting on. I think we
Yeah.
need details from them exactly.
And we
what it
are
is.
going to go by the book, and
EDC, yeah.
we're going to go by the book, open meetings, and if there's going to be a vote, we have to present in advance material. We'll just make sure that we get everything that, if this is going to require, if we decide that we want to go through with the vote, then we're just going to go by the book and make sure everything is in front of us in a good amount of time according to open meetings. I guess Rob and then Camelia.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. You're gonna make sure that they send us the stuff in advance, and you just said.
Yeah. This is just brand new, Rob, so I'm just letting you know, hot off the press. Okay, Camelia.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, and good evening, everyone. Just to make sure, all these meetings that you mentioned, technically, are they open to the public, or? And anyway, will you include whatever it's kind of open to the public? Will you will include them in the minutes? Maybe those of us that are interested, maybe we will try to make it.
Yeah. They are run by the city of New York. They're run by DEP, and therefore they are open to the public. So I'll make sure everybody gets the Laura, I guess the community board, because this is a issue of community board concern, not just committee concern. Those two Tibbetts Advisory Group dates should be sent. And we'll talk to Tara about putting it on our Facebook, definitely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Agreed.
Let's see, Rosemary and then David.
Oh, good. Thank you, Bob. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think that the last date of a joint meeting, there was one joint meeting between the
Correct.
two committees back, was it January, February, December, November?
December. Yeah.
December. Okay. I mean, I have stated, I will continue to state that I think there should be joint meetings 3 or 4 times a year on this project, just as standard operating procedure. So now 6 months later, there'll be a joint meeting. That's terrific, wonderful. The other meetings, and I think it's wonderful that groups get involved in this project. I think that's fabulous, but that's not the community board.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's right. It's not the community board. So that's great.
Right.
What I guess, do you have?
So Rosemary, to be clear, I'm steering the community board into the decision-making process here. And if we didn't ask, if I didn't say we're having a meeting, we may not have had that. So we are getting that meeting and the chance to comment on a decision on PDC. There's nothing more important, as you know. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, if there's anybody on this group that understands the city charter better than you, there isn't anybody who understands it better. And city agencies are required to come to the community board and speak to capital projects. So this is not by the grace of the agencies that they're coming to us. They're required by the city charter to come to us. So very good. But do you have any concept at this point what the question put before the board will be? What will the question, I mean, to the extent you know, if you don't know, that's fine. But what do you think the question before the board will be?
Rosemary, we're going to go through our meeting. I'm going to
Okay.
restate that. And I need to get that clarified because I literally just read the email right before we started. I'm kind of not surprised about this, but, and mind you, there's no news on either. We didn't know if CSXs, how far they are and that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to do under, I guess we're going to call it old business, is to, as a committee, compile our questions, what we need to ask this agency. Okay, we need to be prepared in advance because, well, they will, if they have a design, then that kind of takes care of the meeting. But there were really crucial questions that we had from last meeting that I communicated to the agencies afterwards. And there is absolutely, there's absolutely going to be a decision that the board is going to have to reach. In fact, when we get on to other business, I do want to actually digest that a little bit. But it's so important, Rosemary, as you say, to find out exactly what our job is when they.
Okay, so Bob, if you want to leave it to the end of the meeting to discuss, that's fine. You have an
Yeah.
agenda. Please go ahead with it. Maybe we can discuss it further at the end of the meeting. That would be
Absolutely.
great.
That was my
Okay.
intention to
Fine.
recruit questions at the end of the meeting for our joint.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent.
David?
Yes, just a very quick question. Going back to the rain barrels, and Laura, you might know the answer to this. Are these rain barrels, I assume they're plastic, are they barrel shaped, that is to say, smaller at the ends and wide at the middle, or are they trash can like, and can they be stacked several into each other?
They may be stacked by twos. They're kind of barrel shaped with hardware that goes on it, spigot.
Right, but I mean, will they fit into each other? That's what I'm getting at.
I don't recall. That's not how we lined them up. We
Okay.
So I can answer that.
Good.
Okay.
The rain barrels, they wouldn't put them on top of each other, David. They would go one, they have a tube that would go and connect them from one to the other. So they can line up like 4 of them, like for a building. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm literally thinking of the storage element and distribution.
Oh,
Can
and,
they be stacked one inside of each other so you can grab them?
I think we're passing on it for this year. So maybe that discussion.
Yes, I heard you when you said that earlier, Laura. I just wanted to know.
I've got a picture of them if you want to look at it.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it. So
Okay.
you can, anybody else can do it. So I just
I'll
wanted to
send you
get
the link,
back.
David.
I just wanted to get back
Thank
to
you,
that
Deb.
last issue. Right now, okay, they are shooting for the DEP project management team is shooting there. It's not confirmed. They are shooting for mid-June to get preliminary designs to the PDC. They need to present to the CBA first. So they are asking to present this on the 25th to make any CBA changes before we submit, okay? So everybody, that's the strategy that right now the DEP team is presenting. That's not the same as passing a board resolution on the conceptual design. They're offering the chance of a 1 month interval before their submission to make changes, okay? So it's a really important distinction. So does that, I think Rosemary's question, that to answer your question, the process is a little bit different than what we would normally do. Okay, they're asking for feedback essentially coming in May and then arriving, then submitting with any changes or feedback they get. But we couldn't possibly bless these changes as the will of the community board until we voted on the community board. And this is a peril which we have all seen, that if those changes are made or anything is said at the meeting without the full consent of the community board, that can be held against the community board and say, see, we did what you wanted, or we heard that you didn't want this, and it wouldn't represent the full voice of the community board. So we have to avoid falling into this trap of offering piecemeal advice that is taken for wholesale consent, meaning wholesale approval by the board. I think we may want to try to push them back. We should talk about this tomorrow at exec. I think I want to push them back so that the community board as a whole gets a chance to hear our feedback on the, fair enough, it's great, but hear our feedback, and we would be the only source of feedback. But that may well be presented as the will of the community board to PDC, and you generally don't want that to happen. The community board can get railroaded that way. That's just what I'm thinking out loud about this, and this is something we really need to take up. Laura, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue because they're coming in May, and we're having our full board meeting presumably June 29th.
Yeah.
And that would be after, I don't know the exact PDC
After, yeah.
date, but maybe it could be postponed.
Yeah, we'll look into that about what the calendar looks like, because we want the chance for the full board to be able to respond to our feedback as well as the original plan.
But we'd like to know the whole parameters of what we're voting on, what they're going to PDC. I've testified at PDC many times. Karen, you have as well. They tend to take the agency.
Yeah.
I mean, just overall, that's been my experience with them. But they're looking for certain things, and we want to know what those things are. So we certainly have some research. We just got this, what, 5 o'clock today?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
And I called you and I sent you and I texted you, see this, look at this, because I know you don't always check your email.
All right. So Laura, if we can make a little plan for this tomorrow,
yeah, we will.
Exec would be good. Thank you. All right. So we're going to close that out. I just wanted to take the last chair's prerogative for a personal announcement. I will not be running for chair of the ENS committee this year. I will not be running for re-election. This has been this will likely be the last community board chair position I'll hold. And I just want to thank everybody for making our committee really into a distinctive contribution to the community board. And I think we've really expanded our influence throughout the board in people's attention, not only to climate and policy and neighborhood quality of life issues, which every committee has done, but we've always really played a special role in understanding environmental impact. And I really hope the contributions that we've made during the time that I've been ENS chair persist, and that a new generation takes up this leadership, this committee. It has so much to offer. It's so important. And I just want to thank everybody who voted for me and supported me through the process of elections and running great meetings and getting great information out like we're just doing now. So that's my announcement.
And I want it said that I did everything, stood on my head to try to convince Bob Finuzzi to continue. I did everything I could because you're one of a kind, and you have the interest and the experience and the thoughtfulness, and you have been a fantastic ENS chair. And I hope that you'll stay active with the committee.
Thanks. Thanks, Lord. Thank you, everybody. Thanks. I remember when somebody said, why don't you run for ENS chair after I was chair? And I said, well, I didn't like them at Croton, so maybe that makes me a good ENS chair. Anyway, so thank you. Thanks very much. I wanted to ask if Karen, you would like to switch places on the agenda, because we have budget to go over, and we also have a couple of news items from the water working group. Karen, do you want me to just go through the budget, or do you want to go through?
Whatever you like. I'm ready to do it.
Oh, you ready? Why
Yeah.
don't you go ahead? Because I'm still sorting through our budget options, which are huge. And a lot of stuff that Karen's going to talk about actually will both be related to the budget and also the daylighting greenway issue we just talked about. So I have to make you host, right?
I don't think so. I think I should be able to share,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
I-
can you? Go ahead.
No, you have to make me host or co-host.
There you go. Just a second, everybody.
Wait 1 second.
So those of you who are new to the Water Working Group, it was created in 2015 as a conduit for community organizations, environmental activists to bring new policies outside the city of New York and outside individual citizens' activism to our committee. And so Karen has 3 pieces of news to share with us.
So, yeah, I think I'll just do the presentation. Can you see the green presentation?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Good. I know there's a way to do this. All right, so this is just a PowerPoint, a very quick PowerPoint. Losing my mouse. Okay. And this is the Water Working Group started sometime around 2016, 2017, and we've been working with the BCQ and elected officials, outside agencies like the Riverkeeper, Soil and Water, and Community Board 8 through the Environment and Sanitation Committee. And so one of the things that we did was we chose the area around Amalgamated, did a couple of tours there where Amalgamated is, and the Soil and Water Group came up with some ideas to use it as a hilltop neighborhood green infrastructure project. So 2014, 2015, 2017, we gave it to the DEP, and the DEP said yes. We don't know why, but anyhow, that was nice. And so this is the end product of this project. And right now that we have a 100% design, whatever that means, it means that it's not really like 100% ready to go, like for construction. It's just design ready to go where they could estimate the cost of it. So it's going to capture 1.2 inch rainfall event from the tributary area. And it is actually going to, so the tributary area is 18,000 square feet. It's going to capture 14,000 gallons of runoff, but it's going to actually do more than that. It's going to capture the capacity. It's going to capture 16,000 gallons, which is very good because I always try to get the DEP to do more because we need all the water that we can captured. I do have some notes that I have to make about how much it gives us in carbon capture and stuff like that, but I didn't get to it. I will get to it soon, maybe the next time we talk. So this project will cost about $350,000, which is amazing. And it's just the green infrastructure part. Here's the site. Here's the Bronx. And here's, let me get rid of this thing, it's in my way. And here's Sedgwick Avenue right off the reservoir. And this is the, I don't know why it's moving. This is what we call the Grove, the area in the white. And here was the first design. Now this area had been changed by the DOT, and this is the new roadway that's going to pass. You see the red arrow, and the area is now going to be here. Originally, the green infrastructure was going to be on Dickinson Avenue, but once they went in to look at it, they can't do it because the aqueduct is underneath and nothing heavy can go on top of it. That's what they said. So here is the count out. Here's Marshall Loop Parkway over here. Oops. Marshall Loop Parkway over here. Here's where the cars are now turning and going straight. And this is where it's going to be. And it looks like the entryway to the neighborhood from Marshall Parkway. And this is the final product with this very nice wood thing. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of native plants. I have a list afterwards. And people can still walk on the route. There's this route that's in here, this walk here. This is the walk that has been made by the people, just regular path. And so the path is going to remain. And the other thing that this is going to do is going to take water from the, I'm on my laptop, so it's not really acting so good. They're going to take water from Marshall Parkway here, and they're going to pipe it to here so that there's always going to be plenty of water to take care of these plants. Because it is surrounded by trees, so it may be, it might be like a fight for water. So there'll be some water coming from Marshall Parkway. These are the plants that they would put. They're all native, and this is the proposed list. Now, apparently, I didn't realize this, that because it's so close to the road, there's the problem of salt spray that comes in. So you can't just put any nice grass or plant that you want. You have to have one that's really strong that can stand the pressure of the salt. And then the community had asked for something to go along the edge of Dickinson, which is, as you might all remember, it is now a capital project that we put into the 10-year plan or something. It's on the list to make it part of the bike path. And there's all these other kinds of extra community improvements that we are going to look for funding from other sources to do, because the DEP can only pay for water things. And so this is a little bit of a, I don't know if you were on the conference that talked about the stormwater. And so this talks about combined sewer overflow, which is what this area is, CSS, and that the best kind of green infrastructure is vegetated retention. And so this is the good goal. These are the ones that you just end up with, whatever. And so these are the different kinds of things that you would use. This is not one. This is the tree pit. That could be something like it. I'm thinking it's going to look something in the inside like this. I'm sorry that they didn't give us a plan with the, what's going to be on the bottom, but it's going to look like any one of these things. So that's two.
Yeah, let's just pause for a minute. Anybody want to, this is part of, everybody have the location, right? It's right in front of St. Patrick's. And that's DEP property, by the way. That is not a park, that is DEP property.
Which is why we can have that nice fence, because you can't have that in a park. And we can also do signage that you probably can't do in a park.
Okay. Two questions, Rosemary and then David.
Yeah, thank you. So, I think one of the questions that I had, I think is answered. This is not parkland. This is city-owned, but it is city-owned land.
Yes.
And it's not parkland, right? Okay. Number two, whose project is this? Whose project is it?
This is the DEP's project. It's on their land. It's their project. And that's part of their green infrastructure design. So we'll go into what they call the third or fourth grouping. The interesting thing about this project is they said they couldn't do this in our area because of the rock. And I said, well, if you can't go deep, you can go wide. And so, you have to just take in however you have it. So in here, we had the luxury of a lot of land, and we have that in most places in the Bronx. And so they don't have to be saying they can't. This is only going down like 4 feet. I had the ground penetrating radar people come and they looked around. And so it's a very special project.
Okay, so it's a DEP project. It's nobody
Yes,
else's, it's DEP. And
Right.
just my final question is, you gave reference to future plans or future possibilities of programs. Who is pursuing those? How does that get done? How does that
Karen,
get?
get that slide back, when you said the future, yeah, there.
This, so, the assemblyman had said that he would, who has been also involved in this, and this councilman, they said that they would put some funding in for things like benches, but nobody wanted a bench. They don't want benches, they're gonna go and bring their chairs in. So they agreed to make like a pathway there. Right now, they finally fixed they paved that street. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Rosemary. but
I
that-
am very
Yeah.
familiar. Yes, I am.
That street finally got paved, but they still didn't put anything on the edge, so all those cars back up and they make a lot of mud. And so what we're gonna have is, I think I have a picture someplace, because I'm not doing that, and DEP's not doing it. We're gonna have like a wood rail to keep the cars from going into the grassy area. And then there'll be a pathway there on that side, because what happens is, I don't have a map here, but the bike route on Marshallou Parkway goes until it gets to Gun Hill Road. And then a lot of the bicyclists go into Van Cortlandt Park, but they have to cross Marshallou Parkway, and then they have to go on the path along over here on the Grove, and then they have to go in here. And so we thought that if they were doing this and people have a pathway, a sidewalk on the other side, we would have it so that it can't be anything like concrete or asphalt. It has to be something light because it's still over the aqueduct, but it could be a bike route, and have them go from across the street, like where the students go to cross the street at Sedgwick to go to like 95, and have it go that way. So it would actually would be sort of like here, and then they'd walk here, and then they'd not drive here, bike here, and then go across.
I'm looking at that red line. Is it the red line, the gravel pathway? Is that what you're talking
Yeah, the
about?
red line is the pathway,
Okay.
right, right.
Mhm.
And
So, yeah, to be
And
clear, that-
whose project would that be? Which city agency
the
does that?
DEP will do the project,
Mhm.
but somebody has to, give them the money for it.
No, understood, but it's a DEP, again, it's a DEP project.
Well, it might be that the DOT has to do it. It might be that when they get down to it, like, we don't really know. Deb, do we know?
My impression is that DOT is looking at that bike path and trying to figure out if they want to run it, do like along Dickinson, or if they want to try to figure out how to fix the Gun
Right.
Hill Road intersection. I have the map pulled up if you want to look at that.
So this is, let's hold
You
off
don't
on
have
that.
to.
This is gonna take some community board outreach. We only have the bottom corner. Do you see where the green is? The
Yep.
red line is just conceptual right now. We're just presenting the need for such a thing. And it definitely is a transportation corridor, Deb, that would need your committee's oversight as well as the E&S committee. If you remember, that road there has undermining because of water, and also the parking of cars without a guardrail there has really deteriorated the edge. And so there really needs to be a nice cleanup and nice design. We have no idea what it is right now. And it's kind of been orphaned because it is DEP. Even the road is DEP. And so we're really trying to bring electeds into the position because they do have discretionary. And DP has said they don't build over there because it's really not their kind of role, their budget.
DOT said they can't build because they don't have the permission of the DEP, but now they have the permission of the DEP because they put it in this proposal. And so we just have to see how it works out.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think this may end up in another committee at that point, is what I'm saying, to follow up on that question about whose job this is. Right now, we're just saying we have a need for that improvement on that end of it. All right, David?
Yes, thanks. This looks very nice. I'm glad to see it. I just have a question, frankly, on the other side, that Dickinson side. You know, given the change you noted there and things that have been discussed, I drove by there just this past week, and there seemed to be several old growth trees right in that pathway. You know, 18 to 30-inch caliper.
Yeah,
Well, there is a path. The cars are into it. That's the problem, David. There is a path because people.
yeah, there's
walk-
already a path. Yeah,
We've walked that path and the trees are not in the way. The trees are beautiful and we're not knocking down any trees, but there is a path. And the problem is that because they just put the blacktop down, the cars are just going back as far as they want, you know?
Okay, but any change made there would not affect the trees. As you
No.
said, you won't be knocking down trees. Okay, I didn't think so, but I just wanted to make sure because I saw they're pretty nice old trees.
Yeah, and what do you think about the bike route?
It's fine. You know, as much as I don't like the gravel paths going back to the Putnam, I can understand for that 2-block length, it may make sense. And even those of us on road bikes, we can deal with it.
I think they have another one that they were talking about. I forget what the name of it is, because I don't
Another
like the gravel
surface?
either. The gravel doesn't stay where it's supposed to stay.
yeah, they have permeable asphalt. Deb, you have your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask Karen, so they're doing this project and it's kind of like a pilot project, the way you're describing it. Does that mean that there's some outcomes that they're looking for and then they'll consider it in other parts of a district like ours? Or like, what's the next step after this, once they've got it in place? Is there any?
You know, it is because we have this problem that they don't want to do it in our area.
Right.
And so now once they get this done, of course, it's going to take at least 2 years. Nothing happens right away, you know. We can say to them, okay, now let's go walking and see where we want to put more of them, you know.
Okay.
And also it's inexpensive. This one is inexpensive because it's not going as deep as all the rest of them. Because the whole idea of going wide instead of deep is they have this cookie cutter idea in their head about how to do things. So yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for this. And it's also the whole idea of doing the neighborhood, which, you know, somebody's trying to get in. I don't know who they are. The whole neighborhood together is a very good idea.
So I have to say that, Deb, to be clear, the design, the engineering is a precedent because this is the first bedrock impaired green infrastructure project. We were told the bedrock level really precluded green infrastructure. So this is proving a different design. But every time we have asked for the right of way, okay, greenway installations from DOT, that is along the streets, they have said that their budget for right of way is allocated. And what that means is that they've met their outcome, they're compliant.
The
With
DP,
their,
not the DOT.
yes, that, which means, so they have met their standard that they are required to meet to represent, to meet 10% of impervious surface with green infrastructure. Okay, so they have already allocated exactly where all those right-of-way installations will go. We are going to keep asking for it in this district. But this by itself, because you can note that it's not a traditional right-of-way, it's actually their property. It's like their aqueduct property. So this one was kind of got one through the goalie, but we must expand that budget for transportation. It may fall under the transportation budget, actually.
Right. Well, I was just even at the other end of the grove, for example, like it was also part of the hilltop. Like I just wondered as we're thinking at like fiscal year 24 budget stuff, like if that's something we should at least put a spike in the budget to say.
We certainly should. And we can even start with the Dickinson Ave Edge. I think that's already from last year, but we can add that to this year.
Right.
Jody, because David, I believe you spoke, right? We're going to give this one. to
Well, no, mine was just real quick. You're right, I was mistaken about gravel. Were you thinking crushed or rolled cinder?
Something like that, right? It
Okay,
was something.
I
it
think
was
that's a
new
good
thing.
idea. Thank you.
Right, right.
Jody?
Actually, I had something different, but I'll respond to that. But stone dust moves a lot too.
Yeah.
That's, if it's not perfectly flat, it washes out.
And it's
So,
runoff, sensitive
Yeah,
to runoff.
that's what happened to the trails in Shorefront Park. But Karen, how wide is this? I couldn't tell from the drawing.
Wait a minute, it is pretty wide.
How, like long wise?
I think it's almost 30 feet when I
Oh,
looked at
okay,
it.
that's not that huge.
No, but it's
because-
huge enough, right? It's like, this is.
Right. But don't let them know that this is going to be the prototype for why they can't say no to us anymore.
No. We're not gonna tell them, no, right.
No.
And not only
Um,
that, they also capturing more water than they say they're gonna capture, so they have
Right.
extra room in there, you know?
We're hoping that IDA changes their mind and frankly, our advocacy changed their mind about the need for right-of-way installations. Jody, did you have more? Because I was
Yeah,
gonna.
so I saw the 1.25 inch, and Karen, you just alluded again, you said when you went through that it was going to hold more than that. Is there going to be any kind of measurement or monitoring to show that it's performing better? Like if it's going to be a demo site, can there be these other things like interpretive signage, some actual
We
monitoring?
can do.
Yeah,
we
we're
can
gonna do that.
But I didn't think about the monitoring. We could try to get the monitoring out of the electeds.
That's a good
Okay.
elected ask. Yep.
And then is this going to be maintained by their seasonal hires that do green infrastructure?
No, the community is gonna do it. Right, Deb?
I was going to say, are you
Did-
volunteering?
No, everybody in the community said that they would help out. They
Well,
would-
Dee,
that's-
this could be an
Yeah.
amalgamated project, so they're gonna see this.
Amalgamate. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Deb is gonna have to be involved because they won't know what to do.
Yeah, and also Ray is right there too.
And Ray,
I think
right.
between Ray Poltonus and Drone Park Friends and Neighbors, we can get somebody from
We get some
Amalgamated.
students to learn what to do. It would be nice, really. We great.
Yeah, like Bronx Science, that'd be great.
We're so excited about
it,
this. It's
Clinton.
our first green infrastructure installation in a hilly area. And maybe it'll help with some of that water that rides down the speedway, down Sedgwick and all the way down the Deegan. So we think it's a great strategic location for this as well.
So this is in the watershed that we call the long and skinny. That long and skinny goes from Marshall Parkway all the way down to the Bronx Kill, down through the middle of the Bronx. And ends up in the little muddy thing that they call the Bronx Kill.
So Karen, why don't you go to your next item?
Yes, so the next item is a very quick, it's a little bit about daylighting, but what BCQ did with daylighting. And apparently nobody else really likes our ideas, so this is what we call the water budget. So like, how much water is there in the Van Cortlandt Park? How much water are we taking care of in terms of our, in terms of our daylighting project? And so apparently there's a whole bunch of ponds up in the northern section. Here's the park here. This stuff is in Westchester County on the top. So here's the ponds that are in the park: Elm Pond, Maple Pond, Birch Pond, Sycamore Pond, and all these ponds are surrounding the highways, which I believe those ponds are really BMPs that were put in there years and years and years ago by Robert Moses to collect the water from the highways. And you'll see when you see where the outfalls are that I can go back and forth and you can see that it's there. Then there's the Tibbetts Brook in Van Cortlandt Park, and then there's the upper basin, which is like at the third blue bridge. And then there's the lower basin of Van Cortlandt Lake, which is now called something else. And then it goes into this like overflow where the weir is at the second blue bridge. And then there's Tibbetts wetland over here that there's a dam that goes across to get to the weir, and that dam is gonna have a hole in it that's gonna let the water from the lake go and meander down to the CSX property. One day, who knows when. And so
So
during
Karen, yeah,
during a 5-year storm, they estimated, the consultants for the DEP, that 29 mgs, 5-year storm is probably about 3 to 4 inches. It's pretty big. 29 mgs are coming in from Westchester, which has 1,500 acres, and Van Cortlandt Park has 975 acres. So just get the perspective of this 29 mgs is coming in, and it goes down
Million gallons?
million gallons, yeah,
Thank you.
per rate event. And so they broke it up into these little areas. I think the ponds connect to those little areas, which is how they got them. I'm sorry that they don't put, oh, that's where the colors are. The blue, there's the birch pond is the blue one. I guess it's this 168 acres. The elm pond is the yellow one, 102 acres. And then it goes down and into where it gets to be the upper basin of the Van Cortlandt Lake, 32 mgs. And then while it's traveling down there, it actually increases the amount of water, which is interesting and has more. And then it goes out into Broadway, it's 40 mgs. So it collects at least, another 11 mgs as it's coming through the park. So.
But Karen,
there is a
2/3
reason-
of the water coming that Van Cortlandt Park has comes from the Westchester, comes from upland.
65% of it, yeah.
That's pretty amazing because Westchester is contributing to our water management problems in Van Cortlandt Park. In fact, I really think this is really not a city issue, but Westchester and the city do need to work together on managing this larger watershed, because we inherit so much of the water because of gravity, because the water runs down. And this Tibbetts watershed goes all the way up to Putnam County. So the city of New York is doing something on its own that really should be regional.
Okay, so anyhow, let me just finish. I'm almost finished. So this is how the water goes down through the ponds and how much is lost and how much floods. And so obviously some of these basins are working because there's no flooding lost, but some of them are inputting more water into the system. And that
Karen,
means that
let's show this to Ramdot too, so his committee sees, because these are parks maintenance
you can
issues.
email,
Are they?
you can email the whole thing to him. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
will. Yeah.
It's all on one strain, and I put it up on the Google Drive.
Okay, great.
And then this is a map of the outfalls of the state DOT outfalls. So you remember all these little things in between the roads. I don't know where my mouse is. I should make it bigger. That's all where the outfalls are. That's where the ponds are. And then there's some over by Broadway. And these are the state of New York outfalls, which are not sitting at the table. They have their own permits about where water goes. And all that water is also adding to whatever's going on in the park. Any
All right.
questions?
There is one question from Deb.
Yeah.
Karen, is the water, so the 29 million gallons is coming from Westchester, is that street runoff? Or is that like Tibbetts Brook, the coming down from Tibbetts Brook Park? Or like what's the
It's a
mode?
combination. There are a lot of outfalls up there too. I managed to, I tweet with the ArcGIS, and I found the outfalls in Westchester County. It's right on their webpage. And I pressed the button, and like all these, they're from the street. Some of them are from whatever, but in addition, so actually the watershed for the Tibbetts Brook starts at Dunwoody, which is a little bit above Yonkers Avenue, if anybody's familiar with it. And that's at 300 feet above sea level. When you get to the county line, it's 200 feet above sea level. When you get to the bottom of Van Cortlandt Park at Broadway and 200 and Van Cortlandt Park South, it's 42 feet above sea level. And when you travel along the Putnam Trail to where BJ's is, it's 25 feet above sea level. So that's why the Deacon got flooded. That's why there's all this water in the park. It's just a big mountain, really.
Rosemary?
Yeah, just a quick thing. The presentation started off by saying this is a BCEQ project. Is this just a presentation? And I'm not minimizing it, believe me, there's a very interesting facts here. Is this just a presentation of facts, or is there a project in here that I somehow
No,
No.
there's no project. It's a,
Okay,
we tried
okay.
we tried to see if they were interested. We had a discussion about this and nobody wants to do this.
No, thank you, Karen. It's just like it started
Yeah.
off, I thought, okay, good.
We wanted
Understood.
to share,
Thank you.
yeah, it's not like the Grove, no project there. We just wanted to share what we're trying to advocate for.
Understood. Thank
But
you.
sometimes these things turn into something later on. Who knows when?
Jody?
Karen, you said earlier and just repeated it, so thank you for the reminder. You said you showed it and nobody. Who saw it and said no?
Parks Department and the DEP.
Okay. And then for future, because yeah, some of these things take 20 years of asking as if we never asked before.
Right.
Is there any jurisdiction that covers both Van Cortlandt Park and the Yonkers? Is that like Bowman's congressional district, or is there a Senate district that overlaps?
It should be the DEC, New York State DEC. And we spoke to them about it. They were part of a conversation when BCQ went to visit the state about the long-term control plan. But I mean, I don't know that anybody's gonna, they might do it. You know, there seems to be money floating around to do these kinds of studies. And then USGS is also interested. So anything above the city agencies can't go out of the city, which is a
Right,
problem.
but if there was a senator or an assembly district or a congressional district above the city that could be an advocacy voice for a joint Westchester, New York City operation, that could make it more of a reality.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll let you know if there's any news on that, definitely. BCQ is interested in this, but it's obviously not the community board because it's all outside the city line. Now, Karen, let's get to your last issue.
Okay, so I just made up this chart for people on knowing about what's the daylighting project. That's just, I mean, everybody here knows about that. So
All right, before you begin here, let me just say why we're here with this.
okay.
And last meeting, we discussed the appearance of, they look like platform cars, railroad cars on the railroad that is not in use, owned by MTA. This is south of the 230th Street, the end of the ULURP, and to 225th Street. Okay, there are train cars parked there, and we had a discussion last time about whether this could actually be used for some kind of storage not by Metro North. Remember, this is owned by MTA, but Metro North wouldn't be storing cars there, but another operator could, perhaps, because these platform cars have been used to store garbage containers. So at our last meeting, we were wondering whether MTA has any announcement of what these are doing here. Do they have any use for this property, for these tracks between 230th and 225th? This is parallel to exterior, okay, right next to CubeSpot, right next to Marble Hill. And I am in touch with MTA. I'm trying to get a determination about what their plans are for this, if any. They seem to be the garbage seems to be picked up, not the graffiti, but the garbage seems to be picked up a little bit. And by way of background, either when I was chair previously or when I was chair of ENS, we did have a problem with trains being, Rosemary, do you remember this? Trains parked in front of 225th Street, running and kind of stalling and idling there. And it was a huge community nuisance as well as spewing air. And I think you brought this.
I do remember an air quality issue. The particulars
think-
I don't, but I remember it was an air quality issue. That I remember.
And we didn't want to get surprised. We just wanted to ask MTA. So I'm working with an MNR gentleman who's asking MTA, but I'm sorry, I don't have the answer on that yet. But I am still following up on that. And we are concerned about any use by another railroad to store things or to run things there. And it would make a huge impact on the area there, on the EJ community. So that's Karen. You can.
So I made this fact sheet up just because everybody keeps asking us what's happening with daylighting. I tried to put as many maps on as possible on one sheet of paper to make it simple. I don't know if it's simple, but anyhow, that's just like a cover sheet. So what I really wanted to show you is the area from 230th Street to 225th Street, which is in Community Board 8. And it goes from the Cube Smart, and here's the land here. And that land, according to the DEP, they can put their water through there in a pipe. Did I put that picture in? I didn't put that picture in. Oh, there's another one here.
Yeah, remember they're putting, that's like
Yeah,
a bunker.
they're gonna put they're gonna put their pipe through this, but they're not allowing anybody to walk through it, and they're not allowing any bikes through it.
And they're not allowing any burial of the pipe, right? It's going to be about 7 feet high, I think. Or
It's about
6
3
feet
feet
high.
right. I wonder what I did with that. That's another picture. Okay. So anyhow, in the ULURP, the famous ULURP, that this is the statement, and I'll just make it bigger so everybody can see it. I don't know if you can see it now. So it says, though not part in the ULURP itself, though not part of the application, the rail tracks between West 230th Street and West 225th Street are owned and still in use by the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. The MTA continue to maintain and use these tracks until at least 2013, after which time DPR is planning to lease the ROW from the MTA for the purpose of creating another segment of Greenway that will connect to that of the current proposal. Eventually, the goal is to have the Greenway continue with the waterfront of the Harlem River, along the waterfront of the Harlem River, connecting to other existing and proposed greenways further to the south. ... Paragraph 2. The affected agencies and utilities were polled on November 24th, 2008. No agencies expressed any objections to the proposal. So
is everybody clear? So this is like an extension of the Putnam South. The 2011 ULURP created Putnam South, a new park from Van Cortlandt Park to 230th. In addition, the text is very clear here. So the reason why we're also inquiring about the use of these tracks, because it says in this ULURP, this is CPC, this is not in the Community Board 8 resolution. This is in the City Planning Commission decision that after 2013, DPR will commence some kind of effort to lease unused, you have to assume unused railroad for the purpose of extending a greenway. And as you learned at our joint meeting in December, DEP right now is stonewalled, literally not only not being able to extend a greenway past 230th, but having to put their own pipe above ground, okay, from 230th to 225th when it will finally go underwater, underground. I've already told REMDOT this is going to be an issue on the May agenda to talk about what is the status. And that's why I'm also asking for the status of the tracks.
So can you see this new picture? I should have put this in. This is really, you see, this is what happened when they went to the deep. Can you see the new picture?
Yeah, there's the bunker to the upper, right in the
Yeah,
middle.
where it says
Karen, could you
Metropolitan
expand that,
Transportation.
please?
I can expand it. Wrong way. See that? And this is the box. The box is 4 feet above, and it's 3 feet from the rail, which I don't think that's very safe. 3 feet from the rail. I mean, why are they leaving the rail there? And why, and so this box is 2 by 6. It's 7 feet across, but it's only 2 to 3 feet above the ground.
Yep.
And
So as we're going to find out,
apparently this land here belongs to the Major Deegan, which that's another possibility, you know?
but as of now, we're kind of at the same place we were at Hudson River, where we have a hard stop to a greenway that's supposed to be a linear park all the way down to 145th. So yeah, comments, we're gonna really ask Parks about this. They'll know in advance what we're interested in. But any comments? This is in the City Planning Commission approval for this. I can show that to people, but Karen exerted it there.
But Bob, may I just say something? The words that I read were aspirational. Those are not legal at all. Is that,
Yeah.
that's your understanding of that? Okay, they're not legal. That is not part of the approval. When
Right.
city planning does a report, they give you a context within which the public action is
Right.
being taken. So it's
Right.
aspirational, that it's okay, just as long as nobody looks at those words and says, oh, they promised it's legally, they can do it right now. They can't.
But the Parks Department didn't follow through on it. They should have, had a conversation with them about it to get it as part of the trail. They might have thought, oh, we're never going to get this. We're never going to be able to daylight this. We're never going to get the CSX property. So we're not going to be bothered with that. But
Yeah.
Karen, there's nobody on this board who has not asked more questions than me about what's happening, what's the plan. Nobody more than me. So they didn't follow through with it. They didn't follow through with being forward with the community board either. So there you go.
Yeah.
We get what we get.
Rosemary, I appreciate the context there. I do want to make sure we understand the status of the usage of those tracks, just because it is a community impact issue. And perhaps there's a longer timeline that we can be appraised of for using, and we should be appraised of any active use of these tracks within a residential area. Jody?
Just, you understand it would be another ULURP, Bob. You understand?
I
that?
do,
For
yes.
this-
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay, just, okay,
Yeah.
good.
No, and Rosemary, what we really wanted to do was put the CPC decision in front of you, so I appreciate your read of it very much so. Jody?
I guess the first thing I have to say is that based on most of the people that are on here, we all have really good memories and we know, oh, that was done 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. You have to remember there's been a lot of turnover, and now we've been talking about this across multiple committees. The agencies are very siloed now, much more than ever before. So, maybe they need a reminder that this was in the ULURP, just to bring it to their attention, because maybe they're not reading the ULURP. They're just focused on this little piece that's in front of them and it's beyond their scope. We had this conversation about the Kingsbridge ramp last night at land use. Oh, we're just doing this little piece of accessibility. It's beyond our scope to make the whole building accessible. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my
Jody,
thought on that.
Yeah, that's why our plan is in May to present this and just remind them of the aspiration and the opportunity and the interest, because it really does screw up not only daylighting itself, even if you weren't going to extend the greenway. I mean, it really does make it removes the opportunity for an open channel, which is better for water, and is kind of be an eyesore. An above
Right.
channel at that point.
And again, it's taken, I was on the original committee in 96, looking at the Bronx link for the Hudson Valley Greenway. So it's taken 25 years to get MTA to even consider the feasibility of using their property. So this could still be another thing that we just keep asking, but we have to get newer people who will hang in there for the next 20 years to lobby for this. And
Yeah,
then the second thing is if it is the rail cars that transport trash, the only trash that I know that's going by rail is commercial trash on CSX line.
yeah, it would
Which is-
have to be a leasing to, yeah, MTA,
Yeah.
that's bulk trash, yeah.
So those
Um,
are my 3 comments on that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it could be leasing. So I just want to find out if trash is coming to a neighborhood near us. So, all right, thanks. Karen, thank you very much. Those are 3 powerhouse issues. Thanks.
Oh, and you made a joke, but I do want to say that I was on the Bronx Solid Waste Advisory Board meeting a few months ago, and
Oh, yeah.
there was somebody who was ranting about waste equity and how it's not fair that Riverdale's trash goes to the South Bronx, and how they're lobbying for waste equity and Sandy Nurse, chairperson Sandy Nurse, sanitation committee chair was on there. And they were talking about looking into why Riverdale can't have a way to handle their own waste and their own waste transfer station. And I was like, they literally said white, wealthy Riverdale. And I'm like, have they ever looked at the demographics here? Have they ever looked at the land use here? What are they talking about?
Last time I looked, Marble Hill was not white, wealthy Riverdale either.
I know. Well, Spuyten Duyvil isn't wealthy either. So just be aware that there's a
Yeah,
lot of
thanks, Jody.
targets on our community's back.
Thank you, Jody. Yep. All right. So as soon as I find out we have to keep after MTA, figure out what is the status here. All right. So last order of business is to start to make sense of our budget. And this is going to be a little bit messy because we don't have a firm list just yet. And but we have like a working document. So I'm going to share a screen of where we were last year. I've incorporated, what I've done is taken last year's priorities. I have taken some notes that we started last time. And I've also taken some ideas from Deb that she offered before this meeting. So I'm going to share the screen. And this is the sausage part of the evening, sausage making part. Okay, so first I thought we should go over last year's budget priorities and rule out or choose to reinstate. This is from last year. This is what we submitted. Any budget priorities that we don't feel we need. Okay, so this was in order of precedence, our ranking. Okay, so I'll just go through them. This is capital, DEP daylighting, DEP Dickinson Avenue, DEP Spuyten Duyvil, is that Shorefront Park?
Yep.
Okay. This is expense. Restoration of services for clean streets, especially in EJ areas. Maintain DEP property and upgrade maintenance contracts around Jerome Park Reservoir. And additional enforcement along commercial dumping. They don't do that. Remember, this is what Stephen Caruso told us. They want us to use cameras. I don't like introducing cameras for this. I don't know, but we'd have to decide. That is kind of a dead letter. The commercial dumping one, compost project, a perennial, additional asbestos and noise complaints. We may not need that because we may not like the response, but we do get responses. This is your right-of-way green infrastructure projects. And we may just want to incorporate your Bailey proposals, Deb, into this.
I think that
Okay.
one, yeah, I can.
No, I copied and pasted and I got them, don't worry.
Okay.
Restored curbside organic, which I think we can take off,
Mhm.
and restore e-cycling program with community drop-off. Jody, is e-cycling back? I lost track.
I'm no longer funded to keep track of that.
Okay, all right.
And,
So the-
and curbside hasn't been restored, so.
Yeah, I know.
That's gonna
You have
be
to
a
sign up.
football for forever.
Okay, all right. So committee members, are there any items that you think we can take off? From last year. So we're just trying to basically,
So the daylighting Tibbetts Brook, what, is there anything that's left that needs to be funded?
No,
Um,
Bob, if I may just add, at the advisory meeting that took place a few weeks ago, I asked that question in terms of funding, and they said the project is completely funded. I said, well, what isn't funded? And they said maintenance, which of course maybe we're not up to that piece. Do you remember that? I
Maintenance.
asked that question?
yeah, maintenance for what? Maintenance within the park, maintenance for the, I don't understand. Maintenance.
Greenway maintenance of whatever they put in. But
Uh,
they were very clear that the project was fully funded.
Deb,
You got me,
what
Mr.
about,
Paul.
what about connections to the Greenway between DEP, I'm sorry, between the Greenway, which is DEP at 242nd. And
So that
pro-
one, so I talked to DOT about that. And it seemed like at this particular juncture, because we don't know where the intersections are and we don't know the level of complexity, it's hard to scope it into the budget priorities. The DOT basically, we're not aware of the Greenway.
Amazing.
Like where the exact route was. I mean, and frankly, we haven't actually established where the connection points are. So, which is to be fair to them. And so, yeah, it seemed like it might be premature and that it may already be included in part of in the DEP's, funding the parks, project. We'll kind of know more, I think, once we start to see more what the plan is. But DOT didn't seem to be concerned about it, like that they wouldn't have funding or be able to make the connections necessary.
So I have an idea then why don't we take their suggestion, and this could be a ENS Parks Committee, I'll reach out for continued maintenance, right, Laura?
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing is when things are totally funded, such as the elevator at the 242nd Street subway, for example, something it's in the
Right.
10-year plan, it's funded. We don't put it in as a budget item, but we have a separate page with those issues, and we include it in the statement of needs that we're, that it is a priority that happen. So we may take something out. I mean, that's the way we did it last year, technically of the budget list, but we still keep track of it and we keep it as a page, and we keep it in statement of needs.
Everybody, we have to use the word Putnam South Greenway. That's the new park. Okay, that's created by ULURP. So let's just, we say Greenway, it's the Putnam South Greenway. Operation efficiency too. Okay. All right, so we'll revise that. Is everybody okay with this? And I
It's
think
good
it should.
housekeeping, not good order, good housekeeping.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank
That's
you.
good. That's good.
Dickinson Avenue, do we want to repay, what do we, I think we're saying something else now, right? Deb, this
So-
could be with you, right?
Yeah, that's with us. So we, the committee met and discussed this when we discussed our budget priorities. And we kind of felt that we actually removed it from our budget priorities.
Okay.
Because
Because it's been done because of the paving.
well, the paving has been done, that the connecting of the Mosholu Greenway will probably happen through the Grove. And so it didn't seem like it was a priority to realign the streets, which was the real purpose of that. What
Okay.
made it capital was to make Dickinson and Goulden line up.
Yeah.
And that would be as a nice to have, but in terms of like all of the things on our budget or on our priorities, it just wasn't getting into the top.
So do you want to put anything about remember the path, the red line that Karen was showing? Can that be a substitute priority to design a connecting path?
But that's not,
along-
that would be an expense item.
Yeah, okay.
And is that a DEP or is that DOT? I guess it's kind of both.
Let's make it joint and let's move that, okay, down to expense.
Okay.
I just put it at the bottom here. And Dickinson Avenue bikeway or pathway. And we're gonna call it the Grove.
The Grove pathway, yeah, or Grove connection. Let's call it like the Grove connector.
The Grove Connector, that's good. I like it.
Okay, we'll come back to that. So we're done with repaving. Excellent. Let's go back to our capital. All right. Now, this is an interesting item. It's Shorefront Park. Okay. Karen, could you talk about, and Jody, talk about the reason for this? Do we want to keep this?
This one is in Shorefront Park.
Oh, no?
This is the one, I still think it's an error. Karen noticed that the Spite and Dival triangle now says that DEP is the owner. I think it's a New York City plan, a New York City City Planning Commission, city planning error in stuff that they upload. I used to have Juton correct stuff I found because I can't see that it used to be Oscawana Railroad, that they would transfer the entire property to DEP, even though there's a CSO on one corner of it and another outfall in the middle of it. So I think we should look and see if that's true, that it's now DEP, because if it is, this should be a bigger ask. This should be about restoring the salt marsh that's been eroded because of the wakes of the buses, and there was a plan in the past to convert that entire triangle into a wetland. So
So what
I
is the
think-
designation of it, Jude? What's the name of it?
we call it the Spite and Dival triangle. But there's a let me see, it is,
How did it get on the list?
it's block, you put it, Karen.
Karen, you
No,
put
I
it
did
last
not.
year. Yes,
No,
you
I
did.
didn't. I didn't put it in.
Absolutely.
You're the one
Absolutely.
that, so it's block 5716, lot 700.
We were showed this and we saw it at a meeting. Do we want it? Do we need it? So Jody,
So,
there is a
so,
property and you want it turned into a productive.
no. This was Karen. Karen, you pointed this out a year and a half ago that suddenly DEP owned that property. And I just didn't follow up, but I looked into it. I think it's an error. But we should find out whether DEP actually owns the triangle or not.
Okay,
But I do want to add Shorefront Park, because
Yeah.
Deb was at the Parks meeting where we were discussing Shorefront Park, and it was suggested that it go into ENS. So,
tell me about Shorefront Park.
so what has been in for 20 years is the pond in Shorefront Park. That's been in budget requests from the community board for over 20 years. And the answer is always needs more study. So
Whose property is this? Is this DEP?
no, Shorefront Park is Parks Department and DOT
No, then it
and
doesn't belong to this.
the bridge. So, but we've been talking about green infrastructure from runoff for Shorefront Park, and what came up also was runoff into Alderbrook. So.
Yeah, that's
part
on
of
our
it
list
is-
above. Yeah.
Yeah, so part of it is some of these things are multi-jurisdictional, so it's kind of hard to figure out where it goes.
Okay, understood.
Well, it has to
So
go by who owns it.
I think we had that up here. Was this part of a backup in our Hilltop 3? K-Park and no, we don't want to do that. Entry
No,
Park.
it's down, it's Edsel Avenue, it's down, no, you missed it, it's like 1, 2, 3 from the bottom.
Shorefront Park
Shorefront
DPR.
Park.
Okay, yeah.
And the pipes from the bridge
got it.
and the discharge, that's all Shorefront Park, that's all stormwater.
Oh, okay. So it's hard to put this in, I mean, it's
It could be
definitely.
a
an
joint
environment-
DEP Parks Committee. You gotta have parks in there because it's their property.
Right.
Right,
But
so,
then DEP could do the living shoreline then. Is that what we want?
Right. I mean, doesn't, like, I've got the zoning map pulled up and it just looks like DEP owns the whole shoreline there. Is.
right, that's what I'm saying is it looks, if you look, it's the whole shoreline, right?
Right, and that little triangle, that's what you're talking about? It's a triangle that's next to the lower bridge?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got it, okay.
Opposite
that
sides of the
is-
tracks.
Mm-hmm.
on the other
Right,
side of
so-
the tracks, right?
So then this would be for the purpose of mitigating the impact of runoff, and it would be a living shoreline designed by DEP.
Right,
Right.
and why don't we
So-
assume it's DEP land then? Is
hold on,
there-
we're confusing two things. So we're back to the triangle. So what I'm saying is, how can DEP own the triangle and that land along the shoreline when it has railroad tracks on it?
I'm gonna
It
need to keep this.
Well, but isn't it true that like with CSX doesn't own that land, it leases it? And isn't it possible that the Metro North just leases this land from DEP, in the same?
No, it's the other way around. So CSX is leasing from MTA.
Okay, but right,
Right, so if DEP was leasing the land because they have an outfall there, the ownership wouldn't have changed. And if you look at Zola, it says that the use is railroad, utilities and railroad.
mhm.
So I think we should, if you want to put it in, but I think we should figure out whether that was a change in ownership.
Yeah, I remember this now. I said to John, is that your land? And he's like, I don't know. So I could see somebody deciding that the edge of the water belongs to DEP because they don't want to do the living shoreline.
How do you know that?
Because the edge of the water is supposed to belong to the people. It can't belong to a railroad because the people are supposed to be able to, that's the doctrine
Yeah,
of.
but
something
why
about-
would DEP, but DEP might be interested in a living shoreline. They're
I
interested,
think- I think they would be.
all right, so then
And I
that's what
think
we
they
want.
are. I think they are interested in a living shoreline over there. Whether or not they own the property, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't need to own it. They do a lot of stuff. And they
Right.
just get an easement or they get permission.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, the
Okay, we're
zoning,
gonna,
zoning map says they do own it though, just to be clear. I
All
think
right,
that
that's
they're
even
listed
better.
as the owner, yeah.
all right, so I'm gonna take this one out, okay? So now what we want to do, and that takes care of that the Edsel, is that gonna help your Edsel issue? No, it won't, because there's still road undermining. So now what we've done, everybody, is we're still on capital. Let's go back to our wish list and our working list and see if there's anything that we want to move into capital for this year. Okay, so this comes from Deb. Was this Kate? No, this is maintenance expense.
But that was the one we removed.
This is, can I take this out, Deb?
Yeah.
Okay. That's maintenance. And feasibility study, that's not capital, that's expense. I like that idea, and
Oh,
we
I
want,
like that idea too.
we're gonna move that one down.
Oh, and then I had one more for you and I didn't send it, which is the parks, it's a park, public safety parks ENS issue involving JPR.
Just a second, I want to add, how do I add a row below? Okay. All right,
Right click and insert row.
Yeah, so far that stormwater management study is like the #1 priority for TNT, so.
Nice.
We'll see if-
Okay, that's good. So we'll put it way up there. It'll probably be one. So let's, and before we leave the runoff issue near Spite and Dival, what do we need for Edsel,
Mhm.
Jody?
I wrote something for the parks budget request. Do you want me to send you that? Hold on, let me see if I could find it.
Does it have to do with DEP?
No, oh, for Edsel, the last, didn't Effie say at the last meeting that there was no sewer defect, that it was in the column for the manhole?
She said there was no sewer defect. Yeah.
Right,
And
but the inspector on site told me that he personally, oh no, the inspector, the guy Peter that you talked to me about
Yeah.
the scenic place, he told me that he did the dye test and there were multiple leaks in that line.
All right, let's check it. She can always say it's been done, but let's do a sewer study. That's an expense. No, that's actually that's a repair. That's a service.
It's a
call.
repair, right?
Yeah, that's a service call. All right. Did we cover Henry Hudson Park drains?
So the Henry Hudson Park drains, that's parkland, so we don't know who, they're not. Karen and I looked on those inflow and infiltration maps that I have from 2000, and the drains aren't listed as DEP property, so I don't know what they are or where they go to.
So who owns the Henry Hudson Park? This is, oh wait, this
It's
is
parkland.
it's Parkland.
Okay, so everybody, each of the agencies, the 14 agencies who have outfalls have to map their outfalls and their piping. And that's called an MS4 permit.
But
And
according to those maps that you and I looked at, it said there's no MS4s in here.
yeah, but they're a direct discharge into the river. which
We
is-
don't know where they go. We just know that there's erosion and from stormwater, and it goes into, there's a huge amount of water going into the drains in the park. But you and I couldn't figure out where that water went.
Right, but they have to figure that out. We don't have to figure it out. That's what I'm saying. They have to put that on a map and they have to let people know. So if you want to put a project in for that, we can put a project in, or we could wait until next year, I guess.
So then would it be stormwater study of runoff in Henry Hudson Park?
Yeah,
Of runoff that goes into catch basins? Or
Right.
I don't know if
Drains.
you call them a
Drains.
catch basin, they're more like
Drains.
grates.
they're drains. You're right.
It's a huge amount of water. It's a huge amount of water.
Well, it seems drains are the thing over there.
Well, because
So
there's
that's
rocks,
expense.
Karen. It's those rocks.
The rocks, yeah, I know, the rocks.
Okay. Just let me make sure. I want to make sure we have capital, okay?
Yeah.
So
I-
then,
Got one more capital for you.
what is it?
So this is the JPR one. So add park style lighting around the pedestrian perimeter of Drone Park Reservoir. Basically along Reservoir Avenue between Sedgwick Avenue and Golden Avenue, and along Golden Avenue between Sedgwick Avenue and Reservoir Avenue. For pedestrian safety from crime, increase pedestrian visibility for cars, and to reduce dumping. I can send you the text.
Nice. That's a good one. Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, I talked to
Okay.
DOT about this and they said that it wasn't a DOT budget priority, so.
So they'll pay somebody to do it, obviously.
They will only, so the problem of it is that like a city council person has to pay for it and it would need to go on parkland. And the DOT is only puts in lights if the street is inadequately lit. They don't put in lights for pedestrian purposes.
But how is this
So-
a DEP issue then?
The
Reservoir,
reservoir
it's on
belongs.
reservoir property.
Yeah.
All right, but then they have to, do they farm out the money in the construction to DOT?
It parks.
We don't know what they do. Parks doesn't do the lights. DOT does the lights for parks.
DOT does the lights for parks as a subcontractor, but it would go through parks as the lead agency because
Oh,
it's
okay.
installed on park.
Okay.
It's a park style, it's a park light in park land that is along the DEP resource, so. I think Parks is the lead agency and then they need permission from DEP and then assistance from DOT.
What about retaining wall at Edsel Avenue?
No, we don't know
DOT.
about that yet.
The retaining wall at Edsel Avenue is the pond.
We don't know if we want a retaining wall or we want something more natural. TBD.
Okay. We're knocking them down, everybody. So we'll take that out. And let's just look through. Remember, this was Stephen's list. Anything here capital wise?
Wait. Can we go back to the retaining wall on Edsel Avenue? So
Sure.
that was because the retention pond catches stormwater runoff and the runoff from the Henry Hudson Bridge. But based on what your answer to me was, is it's on jurisdiction on who owns the land. I just put rehabilitation of Shorefront Park, ponds, wetlands, trails, etc. for the Parks Committee's request.
Mhm.
So wouldn't yours go into a Parks Committee request too, since it, or you putting in because it's DEP land?
I'm putting it in because it's DEP, it's a park, but it's a little bit unclear, like it's also DEP.
Okay.
So Joe, let's just make sure we have the same language before we get to David so that it's clear that they are imitating each other.
Let
Okay.
me look, I can look up what I gave to Ramdad.
I
if
think
that
I
helps.
think I gave you sharing permission here, so you can just drop it in if you want.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so I don't want to.
Okay, sure. All right, let's just make sure we have no more capital, okay? And then I think maintenance
Can
is
I
gonna be
add?
pretty
Can I
easy.
add one?
Sure.
This was discussed with Parks too. There was Alderbrook. Let me find it. So what I submitted to them, and I did have Natural Resources review these and they didn't tell me not to. So I had submitted this. Riverdale Park, green infrastructure project to divert, absorb, and clean stormwater runoff from the Henry Hudson Parkway apartment buildings, private parking lot, and other impervious surfaces that drain into the Alderbrook stream bed, which runs through the park and discharges directly into the Hudson River.
Right.
So they put the park part of it in, but said that the upland part of it, which runs through Jane Sokolow's property, and she's the one who suggested this, they said that that was for ENS. But I don't know who this
But
would
is
be
that for DEP? I know it's for
Yeah, but
ENS.
if it's storm runoff from the streets and the parkway, is it DEP even though the stream runs through private property?
Yeah,
Actually, it's a DEC project.
yeah.
Because it's a
I don't know
river.
that it's I don't know even know that it's a DEP, I mean, ENS issue to talk about and advocate for, but not a budget issue for ENS because, all right, I'll keep that with a question mark, okay?
Right, but again, like Deb has over at Jerome, you know, the jurisdictional issues make this very convoluted and nothing gets done because nobody takes responsibility and says, oh, it connects to this agency, that agency, so nobody does anything.
Because DEP, when it comes to water, DEP actually has a narrow accountability, and water is everybody's job, and everybody gives it to DEP. All right,
And Parks-
any more?
And Parks narrowed the focus to be just the Alderbrook going into the Riverdale Park.
Right.
Because the connection to the Henry Hudson Parkway was really, really, really tenuous.
Well, I believe Jane, since she
It's
lives
not
there. and she
tenuous, it's
sees
definitely
the-
there. That's where the
And
water's
she
coming
sees-
from.
Yeah,
How
and
could,
she sees the water come down.
Carry on, I
so-
have to go get a charger. My meeting's about to die. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I
uh,
mean,
well, I mean, look, the Henry Hudson Parkway is sunk below the service road. So I don't know how Henry Hudson Parkway water gets into the Alderbrook. And I don't know what parking lots are being referred to.
That big building that's right there, next to, I don't know, 247th Street, maybe?
I mean, the Briar Oaks apartment buildings?
No, it's something with a W. Elliot Engel used to live there. Reportedly.
I don't know.
I forget the name of it. It's on the Parkway. Well, anyhow, David, what happened is at one point, the outfalls, I don't know where they went on the Henry Hudson Parkway. And then all of a sudden, they ended up going everywhere they wanted. And so just like they are discharging into the park, and nobody wants to talk about it, they are discharging into the Alderbrook because that water is running. It can't be running without it. And that building, let me see if I can see that. I can't tell. I don't know the names of the buildings. I'll tell you where it is. Let me see if I
Do we
can-
need to put in upgrade at the Bronx 8 garage on 215th Street and Broadway? Upgrade,
Wasn't that a sanitation request?
yep,
Yes.
that's ours. So let's keep it down.
The Windsor, is it the Windsor?
Okay.
That's Icy's building.
Oh, is that Icy's building?
One of his buildings.
Okay, and while we were having these other discussions, I went into Acris and I looked up the triangle and it says it's still owned by the Oscawana Railroad, which is the subsidiary for Penn Station, for the Penn Central Railroad, which is managed by Metro North, MTA. So Acris says that it's still railroad owned.
Okay. All right. We got the gist of it. We can always clarify. Now, everybody, I'd like to go through our expense. So first I want to knock out a few expense. Clean streets will keep. Correct. Feasibility study we added. DEP property maintenance contracts for JPR, constant issue, keep. I don't think we should keep this because they don't hire for this.
Okay.
It's a nice idea, but they don't have any staff and they have no budget for it. It doesn't exist. I want to take it out. What about composting? What's the status? What do we want to say about it?
Permanent, you want to put enable permanent.
No, so hold on. No, there's new language. So what's happened is that in the current council budget response, they restored the funding that was cut. So it should be baseline. We made language last time. We were like, baseline NYC compost project funding to pre-COVID levels,
Oh,
That's
yeah, I
good.
remember that, right.
right? Did we write language for this before?
Yes, we did,
We
yes,
did.
right.
And is this what that money does, Jody? Enable compost education and community-based compost and organic drop-off sites? Is that still good, the rest of it?
Yeah, so it should be to enable compost outreach and education, comma, community-based compost sites and organics, plural, S, drop-off sites. So those are the three things that it does: outreach and education, community-based composting sites, and organic drop-off sites.
Okay.
The community-based composting sites are the ones that are processing materials.
Yeah, right. Okay, what about additional enforcement agents, DEP?
Well, no.
Laura,
if-
we don't
if
starve
don't
for,
have- If we don't have a backload, what do we need that for?
we don't need, and we don't starve for responses.
Yeah, and they just, something just, I didn't read it. I just saw the title to it. They just disallowed a lot of types of asbestos. So they may be more stringent about inspections now.
Okay. Do we want, let's keep Marble Hill. Remember, we owe Georgia a walk down there during flooding. I like to keep that for the right-of-way infrastructure. Restore organic recycling in.
So that should be changed because they never cut us. It should be create a universal curbside. That's the language that the council member is using. Implement universal curbside organic composting.
Okay. Why is this working?
Because, Bob, do you want me to wait for you?
My battery's not charging for some reason. Yeah, let me move to another location, okay?
Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah, keep going. No, you can,
Oh, okay. So the issue is that Bronx 8 is the only Bronx district that has it. And it will continually be on the chopping block because it's not cost effective to just have one truck picking up from the few buildings that signed up for it. You know, there's a couple of dozen, but not every stop. So there has to be something in the request to create a universal curbside program where every building gets it and they don't have to sign up.
yeah, okay. I know
And
what
if-
that, I know what that request is. I can do that.
Okay, good. And if every community board had put that in, then maybe there'd be the impetus to get it done. Otherwise, every year we're fighting the same battle.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a classic austerity budgeting thing. Make it, you have to ask for it to get it. Okay. All right. Do you want, what about e-cycling? We'll take care. I'll just inquire as to status. Okay, let's go up to our other wish lists. Okay,
Oh,
remember this was from,
Cycling, Bob, wasn't the e-cycling thing that, didn't Ann Roush ask for that?
yeah,
She asked for drop-off sites, which there are none.
okay, excellent. Let's keep that.
That's what she asked for. And, but sanitation doesn't do that. That's the compost project. That's the Lower East Side Ecology Center does the e-waste drop-off sites. Sanitation doesn't do e-waste drop-off sites, except
Okay.
for safe. That's it.
All right, litter basket, I think we've got that. Manual litter patrol, that was a good one, right? Increase DSNY. Oh, we should put down new hardware.
Wait, Bob, isn't this the list from last year?
No, now we're looking at Stephen Caruso's wish list that he gave us when he came last month, our last meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're done with last year. We've already taken out and taken from other places. So we're looking at Stephen's list now from last week. Last 2 months ago when we met. All right, so we've already covered curbside, litter basket.
But this
collection.
curbside is in addition to the program. It's increasing outreach and education. It adds another element to it.
Okay.
Which is that outreach and education is done by the compost project.
Okay, all right, okay. So we'll include that in the ask for funding of compost project. Manual
so
litter patrol. We've put that before. Why don't we add that? What is this? No, let's just skip that one. What about hardware, everybody? I think he was talking about radios, which is an expense item. Desktop computers, composting, we did that. Street sweeping, do we need more street sweeping? No, I think that's fine. We did maintenance and splinter groups. What are splinter groups again?
Oh, he gave an explanation of that.
Oh,
That-
clean
that-
vacant lots? Or is that a new number? I think,
I think he said that they're kind of like a SWAT team and they get sent out to do different tasks.
right.
He described it in detail, but I didn't do the minutes, so I don't
I-
know. Is it in the
yeah.
minute?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I think we want them. I'll clarify with him.
Yeah,
Everybody,
he
I gotta grab
He
my
asked
notes.
to
Keep going.
restore them because they were cut.
Where'd he go? He's running out of energy. It's
Yeah.
almost 9 o'clock too. We should get to the end here.
Do we have much more to go? Just this?
I think this is it. Bob, why
mean-
don't you just circulate it for us?
Yeah. I'm just gonna highlight the ones, we're done. I just wanna highlight the ones that we need to add to that list. I won't do it now. But I'm gonna circulate it and then, we'll submit to the community board as preliminary, by the end of the month.
Bob,
Yeah,
just a reminder, the community board gets 30 each, capital and expense, and they're due by the 20th.
yeah,
And I'll repeat what I said when David, you gave that reminder, so I'll just give my same comment is this is also a good exercise regardless of whether they make the 30 list to, like Laura had mentioned, to track what the community is interested in getting done, whether it gets into the priority request or not. It's like a running list, a running to-do list of what needs to be done.
Right.
that's why we
Understood.
do it. I know why we're doing it and I know what we're doing it for. And it looks like, are there any things you wanna highlight from sanitation's expense here? To bring into that, list of the templates that I'll just move them down. I'm gonna skip the hardware, the computers. We're advocating for the community, not necessarily for office staff. All right, so that looks good to me. Oh, step streets.
Oh.
That's DOT though.
Yeah.
Oh, it was, we wanted green infrastructure in step streets.
Right.
Yeah, and I checked with DOT and all of their green infrastructure plans start with DEP. I asked them how they would be meeting their goals on stormwater catchment because it's in the streets plan that they're supposed to be doing that. And they were gonna get back to me about that.
Good job. That's good.
So that could be a combination, the step streets and DEP, that could be, I'm gonna put you down, okay?
Mhm. Yeah, we've got a lot of step street stuff we're working through on our budget priorities as well. So
All right, so we're almost there. Looks good, and I'll distribute to everybody. Was there any new business? Is there any old business? I guess we covered the daylighting news that we, the questions that we had are now a little bit focused for us. Do you want to bring up the 225th and 230th issue and present that to the joint meeting in May?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know why you're waiting. You should be doing something soon. Or,
it's our next meeting. Do it once a
Okay.
month.
yes, I think that should be in there. And I sent an email out. I think there's a like experiment going on at Jerome Park Reservoir and we just need to observe it. It's an observation experiment. So if you walk around the reservoir, or if you've walked around the reservoir, you know it, that the area that Lehman College takes care of is always green and clean. So we know that means that it can be kept green and clean. And actually the area at where Lehman College is is the most used area. There's more people walking there. There's more cars parked and not parked than any other place. And so if they could do it, that means it could be done. And we should be calling the other agencies up to the task of meeting what Lehman College is doing.
Karen, do you know anybody at Lehman College where you could ask what they're like, who they?
I do,
who
I
they
do,
have
wait a minute,
maintenance?
I know a whole bunch of people at Lehman College now. I started calling them and
I actually know the vice president and the head of buildings and grounds because I helped them with their compost facility for almost 15 years. So, and we did pumpkin smash there. So I could find out if their buildings and grounds people are doing it. You know,
it would
that's who
have
would
to
do
be
it.
the buildings and grounds people, right, right.
Yeah.
Who is the vice president that you know? It's a,
Renee Rotolo.
oh, okay, she might still be there.
Yeah,
If
she is.
not, I have the new vice president in charge of whatever, student affairs and,
Yeah, no, she was the vice president in charge of facilities and
oh, okay,
maintenance,
facility managers, okay.
and now she's the vice president.
They have a lot of vice presidents.
Yeah, they have
Um,
vice presidents of everything and the vice president of all the vice presidents.
It's
So
like
if
the
you
bank.
just send me, an email what you want me to ask her.
How do
Camelia-
they take
Camelia,
care,
could-
what is the
what-
regular schedule for taking care of their property?
Right, right, but send me the details of what the section is, the section between XYZ, so that,
Oh, okay.
all right?
Mm,
So we don't
okay.
have to discuss it here and go till 10 o'clock.
Camelia, what's your issue?
No, I just wanted to ask a question, Robert. In terms of the greenway, the special committee on the greenway would make their own budget asks, or shouldn't they also go through this committee if there's something? Because we are in April already. I don't see nothing on the calendar, so I assume they would meet like May and June. So I was just wondering if at all we have any requests on that, or if there's anything to be requested at all, and if it would kind of pour into you or directly to David from them.
No. No, we don't really participate in the Hudson River Special Committee. No, so the answer is no, that hasn't made, and I'm not aware. You'd have to ask Bob Bender. He's the chair of
Okay,
that.
thank you.
All right. Any other business or questions?
I have a quick announcement. Bob, if I may.
Yep.
Okay, today we got a package of information from Congressman Espaillat. He has obtained nearly $8 billion in federal monies for projects that will fall under the bipartisan infrastructure law. And he has launched an interactive map in order to highlight critical infrastructure needs, and he's calling on the public's suggestions and feedback. So the areas cover subways, buses, water, flooding, bridges, overpass, broadband, electrical issues, waterfront issues, road and sidewalk repair. So, I mean, clearly several of our committees will want to take a look at the links. I sent them out. It will get posted on social media. And I think this is a very interesting opportunity. So I just wanted to throw that out. We got it today,
Laura.
and I sent a note to the exec committee on it.
Nice. Okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to, is Camelia, use your hand up? No.
No, sorry, it was just from me.
Okay, therefore I move we adjourn.
Great, and I second that
Okay.
motion. Everybody, I will see you in May, and I'll correspond on budget. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bob. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.